I'm Neal Trieber. I am a senior sales engineer with Pica8, and I also lead sales engineer for the Americas. But enough about me. As I'm batting cleanup, we want to do a quick summary. So the road so far, if any of you are Supernatural fans, you're probably here in Kansas carrying my wayward son right now. But let's do a quick summary. As you heard, one license to automate them all. So no pay by the port, pay by the feature. Got a switch, need to move a switch, RMA a switch. You can transfer the licenses. They're portable, so you don't have to worry about having a license for absolutely and everything. And moreover, they're all inclusive and they are perpetual. They are yours forever, of course, plus annual paid support. Secondly, security network compliance, as you just saw my colleague Monty do. We want to put zero trust on automatic. It shouldn't take an army of PhDs, doctorates to be able to deploy and secure your network. It should be secure by default, right? It shouldn't even be a thought. I plug something in, it's automatically got policy applied. It's automatically being scanned and secured. And moreover, the whole process should be easily repeatable. I should be able to push this out like hotcakes. It should be templated. I should be able to hit a button, talk to an assistant, push it out, done. I shouldn't have to touch every element and or check them all. It should all be done for me. And how do we do that? Well, we get there with next generation network ops and automation with, of course, the new star of our show, AmpCon. And as you can see here, and yes, my colleague said that I hate the word fabric. I kind of feel that the fashion industry should sue us and take it back. It's one of those overused and abused trendy terms that if we had a drinking game and every time you heard cloud and fabric the past 3 days, you'd probably still be drunk today. Given that, of course, I'm still going to have to use that word fabric a little bit, but it's all about being able to deploy, as one of our other delegates mentioned, obviously earlier, about being able to automate something as complex as EVPN-VXLAN. So I thought that was an excellent comment because something even as complex as that should be able to at some point be templated and be made, again, push button. So I can literally, yes, follow with the trend, all the whole promise of EVPN-VXLAN. I can connect edge to cloud, cloud to edge, however I want wherever I want my fabric to extend. Shouldn't be hard to move my 3D printers and my IoT. It should all be secured by default. And all of that should be super simple and easy to do, right? Not complex at all. Of course, yeah, it is. But if we can really weave that into the fabric of our networks with better enterprise chemistry through it, well, there's a promise of no more spanning tree with getting all links active. So now we're greedy. We have much more greedy applications now. It's all about bandwidth. But we've gone from that more simpler access core distribution, which we all got used to now the everlasting spine leaf. And we've gone from one network to manage to two, an underlay and an overlay. So now we have two networks replicated to manage. And again, all of this is supposed to be, real simple to manage and easy. And of course, all of our customers tend to think, hey, how come you all, if anybody has any problems with this, right? But that's where their true conundrum comes in, right? Because we have the promise of VXLAN, we have the promise of these things, but they truly haven't been made simple. But maybe we can make it a much simpler and get lots of our time back in our calendars. So how do we make the simple out of the complex? Well, one, it shouldn't take an army of PhDs to architect, design, deploy now one, if not two networks. And then there's the promise of AI and integrating AI, which I'm going to say, in my honest opinion, personal, next 5 years, 5 to 10 or less, AI will be a part of everything that we do one way or the other. And as a part of that, though, that means, do I now have to hire an entire team of data scientists and PhDs to now build and train AI models for my network and then maintain those models? And then do I then need to spend millions to change the DNA of my network? And that means I have to have the professional services team from your company as a part of my team to now maintain my network. Way too complex. But how's about an easy button for the network? Automation for the rest of us, right? Like Festivus for the rest of us. Everything is code. Everybody wants everything as code, right? So what if we could be everything as code, but code I can understand, my network team can understand, because we all have teams and with various skill sets and people, some have dev skills, some don't have dev skills, but we should be able to accommodate them all because every person counts and every hands count, especially now in the days of the pandemic, where we've got less hands and more to do. So I should be able to automate my network but not have automation that's fed and force-fed by DevOps for the network team, but maybe something that my network team understands and help me get more done, not give me more to do. So shameless plug on our last episode. If you've visited our blogs, and even if you haven't, like and subscribe below on my last blog, the EVPN-VXLAN Tunnel of Love Part 2. I started to introduce the idea of magic, giving everyone magical skills to be able to automate your networks, and especially, yes, using AmpCon and some newfound skills that we can turn you all into wizards and wizardize, being able to make your networks way more easier to deploy, manage, and make you more selfish with your time. And how do we do that? Well, little first step, point and click entry level magic. So one of the hidden gems we have in AmpCon is the fact we have point and click Jinja. So Jinja is a templating language that my colleague Manny spoke about earlier, and that's become one of the industry standards for, yes, network automation. But what if I told you that, yes, you could actually make it point and click? And as you all know, as engineers, we always read the manuals. No, don't tell me to RT, TLDR, because yes, of course, I'm not going to read the manual. It's a reference, and every good engineer uses manuals as a reference. But maybe one of the quicker ways I can learn someone's CLI is if I had a point and click to test it out, that would make it even faster and easier to learn. Plus, while I'm doing that, I can actually template my network while I'm doing it. But enough talk, let's demo. So real quick intro, we're going to build on the basics that we've done in this demo to gingerly apply some more advanced magic. We're going to take that that template that you saw that Manny built, that is more, I'm going to say, making something more complex simpler, .1x and zero trust. And let's add something really complex like BGP and OSPF, oh my, for doing EVPN-VXLAN. Yes, we can fully templatize something like and make playbook EVPN-VXLAN. So if we're able to do that, what if I could then give you wizardry skills? So every time you create one of these templates, it actually, AmpCon turns it into a wizard-based form. So if you have people and with various skill sets on your teams, if they can point and click and they can fill out a form, they can automate. Now, if they can't point and click and fill out a form, we got bigger problems. So let's demo. So what you're going to see me do here is I'm logging into AmpCon just like Mani did. And once we log in, and actually I'm going to speed this up just a little bit. But what you're seeing here, this is our dashboard. We give you a quick bird's eye view of where you are in your deployment, your life cycle of your network. But you're going to see me very quickly here. Basically, really quick, create a template. It's my first point and click template. And then I'm going to basically leave a description so everyone knows what I'm doing. I can pick what version it's for, and I can just start actually just clicking through very quickly, picking all of the right commands that I want to create out of this template, which you see. Add a VLAN, add some BGP. Oh, look, I made a mistake, but nope. I can very easily just click, point and click, remove, add the pieces that I want to add, set the first protocol for it. Wait, maybe actually probably should set the AS first. So we'll set the BGP asynchronous identifier first. Maybe then, okay, let's add some OSPF. But just to give you a quick sample here of how deep we can go and quickly template, remember, I could be a starting engineer, don't know anything about Jinja, but I need to automate and I need to make this so somebody else can come behind me and pick up the work. So I'm very easily clicking through and putting in the commands that I know that I need to be a part of my configuration. And by the way, also as a part of working in our interface, one of the other beautiful parts is that in development languages, then there's always the ability to make these things more dynamic, these variables. And we actually built that into our interface as well. So you can turn these things into lists, into statics, so that when someone else is building this form, they can very easily add more of whatever they need to it. So you can see here, I'm just setting a static value for the VLAN. I'll then save the config.
This is actually pretty cool for folks who are, as you say, afraid or don't feel that they can do programming or templating or what is Jinja, what is all this stuff. I mean, the fact that you're making a point and click Jinja builder in the way that you're doing it, context to your commands, is, I think, pretty novel. I don't know that I've actually seen this before. So, maybe you've got more videos on this or something that showcases a bit more, but this is pretty dope.
This is very novel. It's one of the first things that drew me actually to working at Pica8 is seeing this. Is that's not just automation, but it's Festivus for the rest of us. It's automation for the rest of us. because that's also one of the big hurdles in getting into this, right? So what you're seeing here at that right, picked up the speed, is that I built that template, and now I do need to do a quick pause. But what you're seeing is now I'm templatizing something that's even more complex, which is EVPN-VXLAN. And I got to give a quick shout out to our partner Trace3, who we worked on collaborated on an all BGP template, which is like even more sliced bread for doing even more complex routing and an automated template and a wizard, let alone. So that we can do things like very easy templatize EVPN-VXLAN. And as you said, we can make it the scripting very much more accessible to even those who may be timid. I don't know how this works. What do these things do? And it helps to start to bridge the gap, because we're all going to need some of those skills. Some of us are scripters, some aren't, but it's really also about learning this to be more selfish with your time, because the more automation you have, it really frees you up for the more important projects and things you need to do. That said, what you're seeing me here do live is now I've told AmpCon to deploy VPN-VXLAN, and what I want to do is show you that on the switch here, all I have is the gateway and the IP address for the switch configured right now. That's it. But I've created this template, filled out the form, and then I pick the switch I'm going to deploy it to. I hit push, we deploy, and then you're going to see me validate and verify it, which AmpCon does as well, which, by the way, AmpCon also does things like back up your network configurations every day for you. So your whole network's backed up. Why? Because you might need to roll back because things happen. But you can also take any one of those rollback configurations. And by the way, here I'm sitting at the Linux shell, not at the console, so I couldn't have copy and pasted that fast if I wanted to. And AmpCon pushed it, right? And that's a complete, fully routed EVPN-VXLAN, which I called Spine Closet, because I pushed it into a closet to do something, to do an alternative to stacking, because EVPN-VXLAN does work really well as a great alternative to stacking in the closet, much more resilient. And now you see here all the commands I would have had to hand jam and verify myself, but they're all pushed out thanks to AmpCon. But we do things like a config rollback, needle in the haystack detection. You can actually do a diff, right visual, see the differences between configurations, have it pull your switches through our built-in Ansible to say, wait a minute. You know, when the network goes down, something happens. It's not a mystery. It's not magic. There's no smoke, no mirrors. It's what happened, what changed. So what if you had something that was watching your back, that was pulling your switch for the configurations, and look, it found somebody made a change. Now you know what that change was, and you can easily roll it back, right? That was quick. Actually, you saw I did a push and then verified the configuration actually pushed. And AmpCon, I'm going to take a quick step back so you can see. AmpCon actually had pulled the configuration I deployed, and then I verified it right there in AmpCon that yes, it was successful.
So if I were on the CLI and I wanted to, look at the operational state, like say, show me the BGP sessions, whatnot. I see it in text in English, but can I also do a pipe display JSON or pipe display XML to see it in structured?
Absolutely.
output?
In fact, when I do my pipe display, I'm doing it pipe display set. So that shows the set commands. The actual, when you saw the push, and if you did a just straight show without display, it's in native XML. And yes, you can also pipe that out as well.
But the operational commands.
The operational commands. In fact, not only can you see the operational commands in XML, but if you're in our Linux shell, by the way, we're full open Debian, fully customizable, gettable Debian. That's on the hardware too, is that if you go into the shell, you actually will see that all of our commands are shell scripts. So we're very customizable and open. So you can automate anywhere you want, whether you're dialing in the Linux shell and doing Ansible and pushing the shell scripts and doing things that way, or you're using our CLI, which are obviously a lot more Junos people who are network engineers are more suited and find more easier to use. So also being very flexible that way too.
Couple of questions. So this looks really powerful, like day one provisioning and it working, so looks great. But what about day two? Is there just another separate template to just do the basics like add a VLAN?
Absolutely. In fact, you can also do that through another part of the interface where you can create not just templates, but even straight configs that add a VLAN, delete a VLAN. It's really one of our basics. So day 0, day 1, and day 2.
Okay, great.
With the templates, do you have like a Git repository or something where you get you talked about like the VXLAN. You have a community of like, here's kind of boilerplate templates that somebody can go pull that instead of rebuilding it themselves?
Started, yes. Growing, just beginning to. Will we? Absolutely. That's part of one of our growth charters and why we're here is help build that community and start really building that out. So we're also looking for anyone who wants to kick the tires and help us do that. I will happily volunteer and elect you, and I would love to have anyone who's willing to do that with us.
And then the second part would be once you get that kind of fillable form, is that something where you could, is that exposable from an API? Could I have something else just hit that and fill the form programmatically?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, not even fill the form. The form is there as part of our UI. The APIs you can hit completely programmatically separately to do. In fact, this was what my colleague Manny was talking about, that we've magically embedded a Pico's VM with under the hood in AmpCon, so you truly know before you go. So don't deploy and have to go fix, now it's broke or brick something. You can do it and know it and not deploy those mistakes. But what happens when we do combine? So following with your question right there, we combine Ansible, Jinja, and our REST APIs. We get some true AmpCon magic. But maybe even better, I'd like an assistant. So you can, we can take a rest, cut me some slack. Pure Pythonic, which we will be sharing on GitHub as well. Pure Pythonic, build your own Slack bot, because it's great to have an assistant. But what's better than one assistant? Well, two, of course. And one, by the way, one license to automate them all. So remember, this is all inclusive. And this would be done with Siri, some dictation, and some Apple script. So you don't have to spend millions to change your DNA, or someone has to build these for you. These things are all doable, easy, no data scientists. You don't have to be a rocket science. It's actually really easy to do. And just so you can see, this is all pure Python. I'm starting my Slack messenger here. Again, pure Python. I built this agent to do two different things. One is it can take straight commands to just like a CLI command and feed it through to Ansible. So my Slack bot works with Ansible and gives me the ability to send straight commands and get responses from groups of switches. So it's kind of really handy to have a Slack bot that you can do that with. Let me mute it for a minute. Also, I can actually give commands in natural language, but what I'm doing here is just comparing, saying, hey, it showed me the config. I want to verify that that is the config. No smoke, no mirrors. Like to show everybody that we're not fooling around. So you can see, yep, that's the full config I asked it for. You can also make them very easily conversational. And then I'm going to say, okay, let's do something a bit more complex. Why don't you, I want to deploy EVPN-VXLAN, let's say. So show me all the available configurations I have in plain natural language. It's pulling AmpCon in plain natural language, showing me all the available configurations I have to deploy. I can pick one and say, okay, what switch do I want to deploy it to? It shows me all the switches. And then I say, okay, I choose that switch. So I'll tell it in natural language. Here's what I want to do. I want to deploy that config. To my spine and recreate my spine. So you're all seeing a variation, same theme here, right? Definitely a pattern, right? I'm doing the same thing, except now instead of AmpCon doing it, I'm having Slack do it for me. And again, dialed into the shell, not touching anything, and my assistant made all the changes for me, right? So who doesn't need extra hands on their network, let alone digital ones? So there, we've deployed a VPN-VXLAN, but let's take it one step further. By the way, this is just quick behind the scenes. I did this with Apple script, a little bit of Bash shell. This is Apple's Automator, so I did it on my Mac. You have to actually disguise Python 3 with Bash shell because otherwise you can't get to Python 3 through it. So a little bit of magic there and some Apple script. And now without further ado, Pica8 Assistant.
Would you like to make a change on the network? Speak your command into the prompt and say click OK or click continue as a phrase when finished saying your command. You can say click OK or click continue to press the enter key or press the OK or continue button on any window or prompt. You can also respond to yes or no questions by simply saying yes or no, enter or speak a command to execute on Picos, or just ask me a question or tell me to perform an action with AmpCon in natural language. Which one would you like me to work with? Simply say AmpCon or Picos. Now.
Picos. Click OK. VLANs. Click continue.
I'm going to tell Picos to show VLANs. Is that correct?
Click OK.
Wow, you have a lot of faith.
What you see here is a bit of the dirty direct Ansible output, which my voice just wrote over. That's because of Apple's dictation. So it automatically takes your voice as you go. So I couldn't help with that, but I like no smoke, no mirrors.
Do you want me to send another Pico's command to the switches? Say yes or no.
No.
Please let me know if I can be of further assistance by saying Pica8 assistant and I will respond.
This time, deploy EVPN-VXLAN through our voice. Click OK.
What would you like me to tell AmpCon to do?
Show me all available switch configurations. Click Continue.
I'm going to tell AmpCon to show me all available switch configurations. Is that correct?
Click OK.
I'm going to ask AmpCon for a list of all of the available configurations for you to deploy. One moment, please.
Now I've done this to visually show you which one we're picking. We're going to do EVPN closet spine. Click OK.
I could have had her read them to me as well and just said, do
Click
that.
OK.
You have chosen configuration, EVPN closet spine. What switch would you like me to deploy this to?
Or I could do a group of switches, by the
Also,
way. We can do
so
them
you
by
can
groups
see
as
we're going
well.
to choose this switch. Click OK.
I'm going to deploy configuration EVPN closet spine to EVPN ACC1. Is that correct?
Click OK.
Everybody cross their fingers. Just kidding. I am deploying the configuration now. Please stand by.
And now, just like we did prior when using Slack, we're just waiting for AmpCon to send the command to the switch.
And I'm sitting at the shell so you can see the XML output push, which we do straight. But I'm not sitting at the console. I'm sitting at the shell. So you
And
can
there
see
you have it.
not doing anything there. Thank you, Neal.
No smoke,
Yes,
no mirrors.
there you have it.
Just a little bit of simple Python, some Apple script, a little bit of Siri and NLP.
A little bit of Siri and natural language. Let me mute that. But now, everyone, you can all get the idea, right? So you don't have to be data scientists or rocket scientists to do this. You need an open platform which integrates, and you can very easily automate your network and be selfish and get your time back. And you hear me keep saying that because that's really what we want to do. But in the end of the day, you should always be asking WIFM, what's in it for me? So what's in it for you is, one, remove the complexity. Right? Be able to automate things that are super complex like EVPN-VXLAN without spending millions to change the DNA of your network or having to buy more professional services or other of those to do it for you. You can do this. Okay. Automate the security network compliance. Put zero trust on automatic. Let it be secure by default. Push those policies by default. Have things locked down as soon as they come on the network. Even when a switch comes on the network and you got a big retailer who's got to push them out and they got, two different teams, one who does deployment, one who does the actual configuration. The switches make it to the site first. Let AmpCon lock the switch down as soon as it detects it on the network and have it wait. So when it's time and it's ready, it will be unlocked and configured. Right. And moreover, get the time back in your own lives. Right. Be selfish with your time. Use automation to help you and don't be fearful of it. And then have a partner like Pica8 who can ease you into it so you can have the automation and not be like, hey, I don't, this language too much. Or I've got people of varying skill sets on my team. And these guys are never going to learn development language. That's fine. Use templates and let them fill out forms. Now, if they can't fill out forms, we got bigger issues. Moreover, or should I say last but not least here, one license to automate them all. Again, everything's in a bundle, everything's included, no more pay by the XYZ, simple and easy, and they're yours forever plus annual support. And last but not least, we're not going back to the future, we're going back to the clouds. Productivity begins at the edge with us. Everything is going to services at the edge. Network feature virtualization, all of our containers and server services, everything's going to the edge. All your users and all their most important data lives at the edge, and we're extending it to the clouds. So like and subscribe below. Watch this space. Watch us, www.pica8.com. Reach out to us.
That's very powerful, but also very frightening. I think I'd have to disable the voice feature in production straight away because that could be career limiting, but yeah, very, very powerful. You started off with a kind of a demo of zero trust, but that was mainly aimed at the branch, I guess. Do you have something similar for data center, like microsegmentation?
So yes, we do. We actually we're working some very unique things between PVLAN, I'm going to say combining PVLAN with zero trust to further help microsegment the network without having to go yet find another microsegmentation solution. So yeah, we do have some very unique ways to work with that and actually template it, push it out. So we actually have had one or two large entities say the same thing is we need a better microsegment control. We got IoT, which is actually our next biggest headache, and we need to compartmentalize this thing. And also, can we use EVPN-VXLAN to do that too? And the answer to both is yes. There are still tools in the toolkit to do that. Obviously, we're not going to be able to do everything, but in part of not doing everything, we're also adding containerization to our software, our OS layer, and we have some ISV partners who will also have added solutions.
That's great.
I have a question going back to ICE much earlier in the presentation. It just didn't click till right now. When you were showing off ICE, you were just talking about 802.1x, but ICE does a lot more than just 802.1x. So is there any feature loss above and beyond .1x in terms of bringing ICE in a Pica8 based environment, or are you guys just like .1x and that's all we care about?
To my knowledge, no. My colleague Money can speak to that, but we get the dynamic ACLs. You can use the named ACL. So we get all the policy push. You lose nothing there.
ICE can do like many things, but what we have integrated is all NAC features. NAC features include.
Okay, just the NAC features.
Yeah.
So any of the other Cisco special sauce stuff, that's obviously
That's Cisco
Cisco special sauce.
Correct.
Okay, cool.